Welcome to my Bajerski YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about Moldavite. Yeah, I just managed to get some Moldavites. I don't know if you remember, guys, but I showed you some fresh raw Moldavites from Malaclum, and I said I was going to send them to Bali to get mounted, and here they are back. So I'm very, very lucky. Some beautiful Malaclums and gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Hard to see, but they are absolutely beautiful, authentic, genuine, and filled with lovely energy. Today, just a thought came over me just then. Wow, yeah, just a single thought, which can change everything in a conversation, in a video. Okay, I'm going to go with it. So when I first started this path of understanding spirituality and trying to connect with spirit, it was about 2 years that went by, and many people shared different techniques, understandings, stories. And I think it was probably 3 months into my deciding to go full-time as a healer and a psychic that a lady walked through the door, and I remember her name, and it was Joy. And Joy came to see me for a conversation, not for a session. And Joy used to work for a pharmaceutical industry. I don't know which company it was, but it was in Spain. And she was very much in a dilemma. And I remember sat looking at her, and she had a tear in her eye. And it was obviously very hard for her to talk to me about this subject. But it soon became evident that she had no real belief system at all. She didn't believe in God, she didn't believe in spirit, but her dilemma was her daughter. And she'd exhausted all avenues. Most people did who came to me. So she'd gone to her local doctor, then a doctor referred her to a specialist. From the specialist, nobody could help, and from there she turned to religion, and religion couldn't help. So she began to tell me the story about her daughter, and it became pretty evident that her daughter was very unique, very special. Excuse me. And like many children, they have a gift that normally gets knocked out of them, but not this child, because the mother didn't really believe in anything, so there was nothing to knock out of her child. And that was through the day and night, she would be talking to what her mum thought was herself, but actually she was talking to spirit, and she had a very strong connection to the spirit world. So now this, bear in mind, this is very early on in my healing work and psychic work, so it was kind of unusual and refreshing to hear something so profound. But I'd heard 3 or 4 cases prior to that, so I was kind of like confident that I would know the signs if her daughter was truly speaking to spirit, or is it just this kind of imaginary play thing, which I don't believe in, but a lot of people do. So I asked her to bring her daughter to me, and like every time I would do a session with a child, whether that child was 6 or 7 years old, I would ask the mum to just wait downstairs for 5 or 10 minutes, sometimes a little bit longer. And she was very happy to do that. And when I went upstairs, the girl spoke fluent English. Joy wasn't from UK. I think she was from Sweden. Sweden or Norway. So the daughter could speak fluent English. So I sat the little girl down, and I went round to my seat, so I made her feel very important and special. And I asked her to just hold a crystal, which was a Moldavite. And then we started to have a little bit of a conversation. She asked me what it was, and I said it was a special crystal that helps you communicate and talk to the spirit world, which are all around us at any given moment, who are helping us, guiding us, and talking to us all the time. And then she said, yeah, I know, I talk all the time to the spirit world. she didn't say the spirit world, but she said, I talk all the time to invisible people. I think she said something like that. And I said, well, they're not really invisible. They're there. It's just a lot of people can't see them. But sometimes you can capture a glimpse of our family in the spirit world. So we ended up having a little conversation. The girl was only very young, but she could really understand and she could communicate very well. As she was holding the Moldavite, she was saying it was tingling and why is my hand getting hot? So she was very curious about Moldavite, and that gave me that. You see, if you give a piece of Moldavite to somebody, it activates something very quickly in those that are in the energy of the spirit world or in the energy of heightened psychic awareness. So that was then confirming to me that she was genuinely, what's the word? Her energy was true, it was powerful, it was strong, it was sensitive, and that normally leads me to understand or believe that they can communicate because all their senses are heightened. So everything that I was asking and talking to her about and feeling about, and just one thing I was waiting for, spirit to come into the room. And I was waiting and watching her to see if she does what I do. So sometimes when spirit comes into the room from anywhere where it comes from, where spirit comes from in their world, whether they come in and out of frequencies, that's obviously something that I believe in. But let's just say for layman terms that they just come from somewhere, like from the heavens, okay? So they vibrate into line, and all of a sudden what happens is with a lot of people, their whole senses change. There's a shift in energy, and that energy then is it becomes part of the physical, and the physical then shows signs of that connection. So like if I give you a Moldavite and all of a sudden your hand starts to burn, well, that's the same as spirit coming into the room and your ears popping and you get a loud noise, or the back of your hairs on the neck stand on end. Why do they do that? And things like that. People will say, oh, that's because, well, there's lots of reasons for that. But these are some of the signs of frequency changing, vibration changing in the room. And then you feel spirit. So I was waiting for spirit to come into the room within the first 10 minutes. And sure enough, to the left, as I was looking at this young girl, to the left-hand side, I could feel spirit right by her side. And she went like this. And I said to her, oh, you just moved your shoulder. Why did you do that? And she says, because somebody's here. And then I knew straight away. So I said, okay. I got up and went downstairs and asked the mum to come up. The mum came upstairs and she sat with her. And I said straight away, I said, Joy, your daughter is a very special girl. She has unique energy and she has an ability, a gift to feel spirit. And I said, we both felt spirit at the same time. So your daughter is 100% telling you the truth. Now, my dilemma there was this to a degree, Joy was relieved, because now her daughter isn't crazy. There's something wrong with her daughter, that she's not going to be taken sectioned. So I confirmed that, and that was a relief to her. But now I realized, and spirit was in the room, spirit was saying to me, you need to help the mother. Now, I've always said to you guys, if you've ever watched any of my videos, whenever a mother and father bring a child to me, it's normally the mother and father that needs healing or needs work spending on them, not the child. And in this case, like most other cases, it was true. The mother needed a healing session. So I asked the little girl to sit down and I gave her a pen and some drawing paper. And I said, will you draw me something beautiful? Will you draw me something that you see when you speak to the spirits, the angels, or whoever you see? Will you draw them for me while your mum's having a healing session? So she started to draw. Now remember, she's only like 6 or 7, I don't know. She might have been 8, I don't know. But she's drawing away. So I said to the mother, look, I'd love to give you a healing session just to help you feel better from all of this very difficult situation that you're in at the moment. And I said, it may help you feel a bit better. So I already knew what I needed to do. And so I laid the lady down. I put a nice cloth over her, which was a pink one. And I had at that point 3 very special Moldavites. And they were only small, just like these. They were about the size of these, about that size, and 3 of them. And I asked her, I rubbed some oil on, I think it was the healing oil, and I asked her to breathe in the healing oil, and then I placed one Moldavite on one hand and one on the other, and then I asked her to lay her hands down, and then I rubbed a little bit, I think it was the cleansing oil, on a third eye, and then put a very special piece of Moldavite again on the third eye. And then I began the healing work. Music was on, little girl was happy, this lady was fine. Remember, no religious belief, totally non-believer of anything, which was fine, it's just how I wanted it. So I started the healing work. And I remember having a piece of Moldavite around my neck, and I was holding the Moldavite in my hand and just working on a third eye. And if you're a healer, the best place to work on when you're trying to open somebody up to feel and to see and to experience colours, visualising faces coming forward and things like that, the head is probably the best place to work, really is. So I just fully focused on the head. So I went from the front to the back, and my hands were burning, and all of a sudden her legs were shooting around. So I knew that 2 pieces of Moldavite in her hand, one on her third eye, and the energy that was being poured through to her, I was very confident at that time that there was going to be some good success. After the healing session, I took the Moldavite from her forehead and her hands, and there was a tear that went down into a duct. And I remember getting some tissue paper and drying it, and I had 2 thoughts at that particular point. Was the tear a thought of the suffering that she felt because of what she was having to take her daughter through? Or was it because she just experienced something? When she got up, I never said anything. She never said anything. I gave her a hug. The little girl showed me a drawing. It was kind of all over the place, but still pretty drawing. And I said goodbye to them both. And about 2 weeks later went by, and Joy gave me a call, and she said, I need to talk to you. And I said, is everything okay? And she says, it is, but I'd really like some confirmation. And this happened quite a lot. So we sat and had a coffee the following day when I had some spare time. And her daughter was at her friend's somewhere in Belmadina. And they were playing at the pool with their mum and dad. And so she was able to relax a little bit. And as we talked at Barpuras, she was telling me that the night, this is the most beautiful part, the night of the healing session when she got home, her daughter at 3 o'clock in the morning came into her bedroom at the same time as the mother waking up from her grandmother, who came to her in a dream saying that, oh, her little girl's name, I'm not going to say her name because some people might know, then put all the pieces together, and said, oh, your daughter's coming into the room now because she's just been having a conversation with Granddad. The daughter came into the room and said, oh, I've just been speaking to Granddad, and she burst into tears telling me this story. What do you say to that? I'll tell you what I say. The moral of that story is the power of Moldavite can help us open up. And at that particular moment was the confirmation that her daughter was speaking the truth. From that moment on, her mum had a bond with the daughter. So the bond of the spirit world, which was Joy's grandmother, who came through and told the story about Grandad. So was it her mum? Might have been her mum. That's right, sorry. Her mum, and then the little girl said Grandad. So the confirmation was so beautiful, a little bit mixed up there, but it's exactly as it was. She was dreaming, Joy was dreaming about Mum. Mum said that her daughter was speaking to Grandad. The daughter then came in at the same time as Mum getting up from this dream to say, no, I've just been speaking to Grandad. How do you put that into words? How do you create something so beautiful that the bond of mother and daughter now can truly understand and accept their lives as one, where before the separation between a lack of understanding, a lack of connection that the daughter had and the mother didn't have, that this was one of the stories that I wanted to write in The Power of Moldavite, but I didn't because there's so many stories. But this, to me, was something that just came up right now while I was working with these pieces of Moldavite. And it's nice to be able to share that story. I don't think I've ever told that story before, but it was a story that went on to be, Joy became one of my, let's say, dear friends over the coming 2 or 3 years. And she used to often bring her daughter to circle nights, and she used to enjoy the circle nights with her. And I think the most powerful thing about the whole of the story, I would say, is that the amount of times I would sit and have a drink with Joy and her daughter and listen to the unbelievable, sometimes, synchronicities that they both had at the same time in dream state and just in normal day-to-day living, where those synchronicities of Spirit's helping hand were so evident and so obvious that it just blows you away when you hear these stories that are so normal in my world and yet so rare in the outside world of pain and suffering and a lack of connection to our beautiful spirit world. But I guess that's the power of Moldavite. And from that moment on, after I think the 3rd year, I think Moldavite was probably back then, when it was so reasonable priced, I was able to give so many pieces away as a gift to grown men who have no belief system, women who lost faith in everything, and the amount of positive miracle moments of wearing Moldavite and things happening was the reason why I say it to this day, it is the second most powerful crystal in this universe, this cosmos, by you, who is the most powerful crystal in this universe cosmos. I hope you enjoyed this beautiful, beautiful truth of Moldavite and a mother and daughter's connection. I hope it serves you well. Thank you so much for going to markbajerski.com and buying your authentic Moldavites, crystals, oils, incense, and everything. And thank you. I hope you enjoyed it today. Yeah, I'm going to get back to work now. I've got some beautiful crystals to work on. Take care.